Aloha, welcome back to Ina Bear Farm. Today we're talking pineapples. Down here we've got a section of white pineapple mixed with a little bit of moringa. And in about a month from now, we're going to be starting to harvest these. And as we harvest them, we will be able to get the slips. And so you can see slips here, 1, 2, 3, then there's one on top, 4. 4 or 5 is usually the typical amount that we pull off of these. And so every time we harvest, we have the option of quadrupling or more our pineapple production. We obviously can't do that forever, but we have been expanding and we're going to continue to expand a little bit. This was the first pineapple bed we put in. And so some of these are 3 years old. And we got a crop the second year, and then this is our bigger crop the third year. And looks like we're going to pull about 25 pineapples out of this patch this year. And so a few mistakes that we made when we did this first one. One, planted them too far apart. I was thinking, well, they'll get bigger, the water demands won't be as high. And I've since figured out that when you plant them a little bit more densely, they're actually a little easier to take care of. They kind of hold themselves up, and they're not too fussy in terms of their water demands anyways. So, as we look at an expansion row that we've done here, you can see we planted them much tighter. These are 1 year old. These are from the slips of the first year of our others. You can see they're much more densely packed. You can see Polu is doing a really good job of guarding them. You also might notice I've got cardboard down in both sections, and that's kind of my preferred overall weed strategy. But another thing that I have been doing with this section that I haven't done as well with the other section is get to the weeds early. So these grasses that are growing in here now, like we actually want to get in here and pull these out right now when they're a little bit easier to get to and they don't damage the roots of the pineapple as badly. And so even that one goes farther along than I should have let it get. Look at those roots. So I want to stay on top of that with this section and with the new section that we're planting so that we don't damage the pineapples. And I can actually show you an example in the other section where that has happened, and we're going to end up losing a viable fruiting pineapple over there because of it. So back down this way, show you what I'm talking about. When they get really big, are prone to falling over. The roots are kind of shallow, so that's what happened to this one. When we came in to pull out the weeds in the area, the whole thing came out. So that's a lost pineapple. That thing's just going to dry out. But otherwise, pineapples are very resilient. Definitely recommend that you plant them if you live in a warm enough climate. And if you can get a hold of white pineapples, far superior to yellow in many ways in terms of flavor, low acidity, all of that. So let's have a look at how we're going to plant our new bed. So this bed will actually be done with pineapples after this. Probably cover crop it and get it ready for whatever next crop we want to put in there, which I actually haven't decided yet. And then we're going to move right over here about 10 feet away. So you've got these 2 new ditches dug, which is where our new pineapples will go in. And because we're planting them much more densely, we'll probably be able to fit twice the amount, maybe even more, of what we did in the row next to it. Because this row is actually a little bit longer too. And so you can see as we dug our trenches that we're on some pretty rocky soil. And if I get down in here and show you, I mean, this is just rock and dust. Not the greatest soil. Plenty of minerals. I mean, we're basically planting in rock. And so pineapples are pretty forgiving, but I want something that's going to hold some moisture better than that. And it's not that bad all the way down. In fact, I mean, you can see the rocks that we pulled out of the trench. But as you get a little further down, much less rocky and much more soil. And compared to a lot of parts of the Big Island where they literally have no soil, they're just planting on top of volcanic rock or fresh lava, we are in a good situation here. But our strategy is to add biochar. So here I've got a whole wheelbarrow full. And to fill up these trenches, I don't fill them up all the way. I basically just kind of coat the bottom. I imagine it's going to take 2 wheelbarrows full. That's my guess. And that equates to about 60 gallons of biochar, which we make here on the farm. As far as, what you feed your pineapples, I just always say whatever you got. If you got manure, use manure. Compost, use compost. Biochar. They're really not finicky. I mean, they're on drip irrigation, but there was no biochar put in here. I did come back and water them with kind of like a biochar water, and our biochar is soaked in diluted urine for 2 weeks. That's how we charge it and more or less inoculate it. And I poured some of that diluted water over these pineapples later on, but they've been very productive. I mean, we're getting 6-7 pound pineapples that are very tasty and very easy to take care of. So the biochar, we did use the biochar in the row that is further up there, and the plants do look healthier. I'm anticipating a nice healthy crop, especially if I'm planting them a little closer together. I want to give them something. So we're going to go ahead and put the biochar in the ditches here. We'll come right back and tell you the next step after that. Hang tight. Okay, as you can see, we've got 2 rows of biochar. And you can see what I mean, where we just filled up the bottom of the trench. Not too crazy. Just enough to kind of give a coating of organic matter down there. Hold some water a little bit better. Help out the beneficial bacteria, that sort of thing. We got it all the way down, and it came out to pretty much exactly 2 wheelbarrows full, which, as I mentioned, ran about 60 gallons. And so we're going to come and cover this right now because we're close to midday and we don't want this to dry out very much. So we'll cover it with the soil. I'm going to lay down some irrigation lines, cover that with some of this grass mulch, and then we'll be about ready. So we'll be back in just a moment. Hang tight. Okay, we are covered up. We've got our irrigation lines in. Just running regular old drip tape, spaced out 8 inches. And then the pineapples will probably go in every other, so they're about 16 inches apart on the rows, and then the rows are 2 feet apart. I have sometimes put a third line down the middle of these rows, but I don't think I'm going to do that here. I don't know, I keep going back and forth about it. I can add one later, but it'll be a bit of a pain. So, I don't know. We'll figure it out, but we're also going to get this mulched up, and we'll finish this video up here. Alright, stay tuned. So that's a wrap. We've got irrigation in, biochar, covered with mulch. We ended up only going with the 2 irrigation lines, figuring that the rows are close enough together that They didn't necessarily need a third line. I often like to go and plant cover crops down the middle, like a jack bean or something, but I just didn't feel like I wanted to use a dedicated line for that. I'm not sure. I might still go ahead and put them in and just see if they do anything. We're heading into our dry season here, and so really, if something isn't irrigated, either it's a lot of work for you or it's going to die. So we'll see what happens with that. I don't know. Maybe I'll hold back, but we've got about a month before our pineapples here are ready to be harvested. And the good thing about having this all done is that we can literally harvest here, pull off the slips, put them right in the ground, and we're ready to go. We don't have to do any other work, so we're ahead of the game. And of course, the farming, anytime you can get ahead of the game, you're feeling pretty good about yourself. So that's about a wrap today. I did want to mention that some of you might be wondering why not do an agroforestry system here. I've been playing with that in a couple other areas of our farm, and the reason's actually pretty simple. I have a killer view of the ocean from my couch, and I don't want to block it. So right now, these moringa and a couple little papayas are about as high as I care to go. If we were putting in bananas and tithonia and all that stuff right here, I'd really start to cut off my gorgeous view of the ocean, which, you know, it's a part of it. It's not full practical use of space, but I have 4 acres here. You know, you can see the edge of our food forest on that side going all the way up, and that goes all the way back to those trees in the distance way back there. So this is just an open, kind of shorter crop area that's in a line with my house so that I can keep my view. And then on the other side, it's going to be more food for us with our ulu breadfruit, white sapoters, avocado, coconuts, bananas, ice cream beans, other things down that way. So with the other agroforestry systems we have in place, I just don't feel like I need to go there for this. Although, if it wasn't for the view, that is definitely what I would do. This area down here just bakes in all day sunshine, which does make it pretty decent for pineapples. But if I was trying to get this to be productive for much else, I'm really going to need some shade down here and a whole lot of organic matter to hold in moisture. But we're doing good with the pineapples right now, so we'll see where this goes. And I appreciate you joining us. And until next time, aloha from Ina Bear Farm.